What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about how to start a podcast for beginners in 2026. So if you've been considering starting a podcast, you just don't know what to do or where to start, this is the perfect video for you. We're going to go over the basic setups that will get you the best results, some more advanced setups, and what you could do in 2026 to really kick off your podcast and get you headed in the right direction. Without further ado, let's get into it. So you've been thinking about starting a podcast year over year and you haven't got it done yet. So this video is going to tell you exactly what I did. So the only reason I ever started a podcast was a client acquisition method. So I used it strategically to get business, and that's kind of like what I did, and that's why I started it. You may have different reasons on starting a podcast, but it's a great way to network with people that are outside of your league or outside of your network. It's a huge value proposition for them because you're creating high quality content for them and you're putting them in front of your platform and then sharing their content on social media. So it's a huge value add. But if you just don't know where to start with, right, and you feel overwhelmed, like the camera we're using here is a Sony FX3. So that's like $6,000 plus the lens. We have a Sigma 24-70 on that, plus the Shure SM7B. There's a $400 mic with the preamps. It's probably like $600. So you're like, whoa, this is racking up, right? Like $4,000 camera, $1,500 lens, $600 mic setup, not to mention the lights. So we have two Godox 60s right here. It could become pricey, right? So I know what you're thinking, like, how am I gonna do that? I'm just a beginner. I don't have either the money or the resources to get to something like that. So there is a cheat code, and I'm gonna share with you at the end of this video. I'm gonna give you a special offer, but the right answer is use what you have now. So your first podcast is not gonna be the best podcast you ever do. It's just not going to. Nothing you do the first time is gonna be the best one. It takes repetition. So get started with what you have. You probably have one of these, right? And these come with headphones. Actually, they don't nowadays, but you could get the headphones with the little mic for pretty cheap these days. So you could literally get a tripod, sit by a window, shoot with your back camera, and do your first ever podcast episode and get the practice in. That's still gonna register to YouTube. It's still gonna register to Podbean, but it's still gonna distribute just like any other podcast. And that's a great way to gain momentum and get started. The number one thing you need to do is get started. Get going with what you have. You can go viral with very simple tools like this. You could get momentum, you could get traction. And honestly, if you get enough traction with this and your YouTube does numbers, there's that guy at the School of Hard Knocks, right? He freaking just goes and interviews billionaires, and he uses a phone and a Rode mic, and he literally just walks up to people and asks them questions, and his channel blew up. Like, every video that he posts gets millions and millions of views, and his Discord network, or I think he uses his school network generates, $100,000 plus a month, and he just used what he had. If you just use what you have and you create momentum, you get attention, it's still gonna get you in the rooms that you didn't think you could get into by providing that value of having a platform of millions of people watching. So just get started with what you have. Now, if you want a more professional kind of like layout, if you want to have access to all the stuff we have here, we literally have $50,000 worth of equipment, cameras, lenses, mics. And if you wanted to kind of like show up at a higher level with like provide a space that's more professional for a guest, let's say that's kind of out of your network, you don't want to invite them into your bedroom, you could use a studio like this. They're all over the country. We're opening up 10 new studios this year. So maybe we're coming to a market near you, but we have a special offer where your first podcast session is only $99. That's right, $99 for your very first podcast session. You get access to $50,000 worth of equipment. You get the space, and I promise you, if you're bringing in a client, a high level, maybe someone that's outside of your network, they're gonna be impressed. We've had billionaires rent out this space. We've had celebrities rent out this space. They're gonna be impressed when you bring them to this. And again, the benefit of starting your podcast is you create a deep bond and connection with someone. It's like, think about when you go on a first date with someone, you go and you do an experience, right? You might go on a roller coaster, you might take them on a freaking Ferris wheel, you might do something, but you do a process, you do a thing, and it builds a deeper connection because you go through a thing, like a process with somebody, and it deepens the network. And if it's somebody that you want to do business with or kind of get exposure to their network, then it's very strategic to get started with a podcast. So the correct answer is how to start a podcast for beginners is just use what you have. If you have one of these things, things, you have everything you need to get started. You could get a microphone for extremely cheap on Amazon. I'll actually link my Amazon creator pack inside of this YouTube video so you could see like the tools that we actually use. You could get access to it. And if you have a little bit bigger budget and you want to get nicer cameras and, you know, bigger things, that's still cool. Like, I would still recommend though, if you build your own at-home studio, it's nice if you're gonna do a lot of solo content, but if you're doing podcasts with other people, you know, it still gets a little weird if you're like, hey, yeah, just come to my bedroom and we'll shoot a podcast here in my room. So consider the Pod Place, the place to podcast. And again, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.